The former board of PETROJAM and former Energy Minister Dr. Andrew Wheatley are mostly being blamed for corruption and mismanagement at the entity. Blame has also been placed on Prime Minister Andrew Holness. So what else did Jamaicans have to say, and should PETROJAM be privatized? TVJ's Andrea Chisholm has the answers from the RGR Gleaner Group's Don Anderson polls.
A scandal at state-run oil refinery PETROJAM
is what I would call the Wild Wild West.
Backed by a scathing report from the Auditor General, highlighting elaborate parties with a $1,000 cake, nepotism, poor governance and bad management. So, who or what was responsible?
It's important to make the point that this was a totally open-ended question. In other words, we simply recorded what person said to us.
27% of Jamaicans blamed the former PETROJAM board, while 22% blamed former Energy Minister Dr. Andrew Wheatley for what took place. General corruption was also responsible for the issues outlined in the Auditor General's report on PETROJAM, and interestingly, 10% blamed Prime Minister Andrew Holness. The former general manager and the previous PNP administration were also singled out. Now, the PETROJAM scandal publicly surfaced in May 2018, picked up steam in June, leading to pandemonium in Parliament when the government refused to answer questions on the matter.
We're not sitting down. We're not sitting down. Let the member speak. Let the member speak.
That was June 26. Days later, Wheatley was stripped of the energy portfolio but kept science and technology. Public pressure forced his full resignation on July 30. 53% of Jamaicans said yes, Dr. Wheatley should have resigned earlier. 21% said no.
49% of those who said they were going to vote for the Jamaica Labour Party felt that he should have resigned. And 67% of those who said they were going to vote for the PNP said he should have resigned earlier. So it's a situation that ran really across the party lines.
So after all this, should Dr. Wheatley be appointed to parliamentary committees?
There was very little support for that. 26% of all persons that we interviewed felt it was okay, as against 46% who felt, nah, we can't have him being appointed to parliamentary committees afterwards.
Then there was this announcement in January.
The government of Jamaica proposes to take legislative action to retake ownership of the 49% shareholdings in PETROJAM currently held by PDV Caribe.
1 month later, the PETROJAM buyback bill was passed in both houses of Parliament. 45% of those interviewed agreed with the takeover and 25% did not. As for privatizing the oil refinery,
well, less than 1 in every 3, 30% of the persons that we interviewed felt that PETROJAM should be privatized.
That means 47% of those interviewed believe that PETROJAM should remain in the hands of the state.
The polls obviously articulate in very great concern about PETROJAM, how it was run, the scandal which took place, and people are really very disappointed in what has occurred. And they really have very strong views about it.
The RGR Gleaner Don Anderson poll was done between February 15 and March 3. 1,000 people were interviewed from all 14 parishes, and the poll has a margin of error of plus or minus 3%. Andrea Chisholm, TVJ News.
Meanwhile, persons also weighed in on Jamaica's vote in January at the Permanent Council of the Organization of American States, OAS. The country voted not to recognize the legitimacy of Venezuela's President Nicolas Maduro. 25% of those interviewed agreed with Jamaica's decision, while 31% did not.
We recognize, therefore, that the remainder, which is over 40%, didn't really have a position on it. So these are relatively low numbers. 25% who said yes, they agreed with that, as against 31% who disagreed. So depends. Nobody can say that we have a strong enough position on which to go. Definitely not.